Hi there, smart drivers. Talking to you tonight about social driving. What is the challenge you face when you get in your car and you start driving? This is what we're going to talk about. The problem of driving. How does this affect you when you're trying to go for a driver's license? What techniques and skills do you have to put in place to pass your driver's test? And why does it seem so different than what everybody else is doing? Because I always get the comment from smart drivers that everything that I learned from my driver's test, I'm never going to use after I get my license. The reason for that is because you're participating in social driving. And we'll talk about the hallmarks and characteristics of social driving. We'll talk about the problems. We'll talk about the challenges of social driving and how that affects you as a driver and significantly increases your chances of being involved in a crash. Just an interesting side note about Facebook. I was scrolling through the stream the other day. Usually not too much on there, but I do have a couple of people who post some interesting articles and information about somebody was saying that we need to end the ownership of private vehicles, that it's far too opulent, far too decadent for our society. So, maybe you can leave a comment about that. So, you're just tuning in to the Smart Drive Test channel. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what class of license you're going for, what information you're looking for. We can also keep you safe as a veteran driver, and if you're thinking about upgrading to a CDL license to start a career as a truck or bus driver, we can help you with all of that. And for any of you who've seen a number of my videos, you know that I talk about driving as a social activity, and that's again what we're going to be talking about tonight. Social driving. Talking about driving as a social activity. And everything in our society requires us to participate within social activities. And another aside about this, people that homeschool their kids are always on the defensive about people saying, oh, you're not socializing your kids and those types of things. It's a different kind of socialization. It's institutionalized socialization when your kids are going to school, because the reality is, when we go out into society, whether we get a driver's license, whether we get a job, whether we participate in a community activity or we lobby government to affect change, we are participating in social activities, and we have to abide by the rules of the institution or the organization or the bylaws or whatever it is. And traffic has a culture, it has bylaws, and it has things that you can do and things that you can't do. And also there's pressure, peer pressure from other drivers, from other road users, because it's not just drivers, it's pedestrians, cyclists, kids on scooters and skaters. It's anybody who is at risk of being run into, or you get in the way of somebody else when you're driving, and there's retaliation. So, a few people are here. Sheldon's here. Ricky's here. Hello. Por favor. Jose. Unfortunately, I can't speak Spanish enough to do the live stream in Spanish, but I would love to, and hopefully we'll get there. Wyatt, anything you learn about safe driving is useful after you get your driver's license? Absolutely. Only thing I can imagine in my experience so far is if everyone's going over the speed limit, it's safe to do so, stay up to speed. Wyatt, yes, after you get your driver's license, I do counsel drivers to keep up with the posted speed limit, because you're more predictable on the roadways. You're not holding up traffic and then causing other traffic behind you to try and pass, which again is another dangerous maneuver, because you're out in the lane of the oncoming traffic and you risk head-on collision. So that's the reason that I do that, and we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of social driving as well. Stanley, how are you, my friend? Milton is here. Michael Fields saying hello from Barbados. Welcome from Barbados. Corey is here. Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator. He keeps out the bad people and as well does an excellent job of getting up videos and further information that I suggest for you for any questions that you might ask during the live stream. And my friend Mallory is here. Hello, Mallory from the Maritimes here in Canada. Gumta is here. Jose. Kim, hello everyone. And again, just let us know what class of license you're going for, how we can help you out, any questions that you have. Stanley, my worry is I'm from South Carolina. I do a lot of driving in different states and knowing all the laws in each state. Stanley, if you can drive in one state, you can drive in all the states and all the provinces in Canada, okay? Basically, it's a matter of, action not permitted signs and speed signs. Otherwise, you're going to be all right, because all the laws are the same in all the states. There's just really minor differences, and those minor differences are not going to get you into trouble. Gagne, I got my license on the 6th of July and definitely seen the effects of social driving as I've driven around my city and on interstates. Being wild to see how often people speed. People speed all the time. Very few people drive the posted speed limit. The posted speed limit after you get your license is seen as a suggestion, and we know in the United States that you can drive 5 to 8 miles an hour above the posted speed limit and the police will leave you alone. Same thing here in Canada. You can drive 10, 12 kilometers an hour above the posted speed limit and police will leave you alone. PC Principal, hello from Pennsylvania. How are you, my friend? Mallory, there was a fire in the engine room of the Prince Edward Island ferry this past Friday. I did see you posted that, Mallory, on Facebook, and I was having a look at that. I'm sure that got a few people excited, but it sounded like they got everybody off the ferry safely, so that was good news. Gupta, maximum 60 means you can drive at 70. Gupta, after you get your license, yes, that's exactly what it means. Tim, any new books? Yes, Tim. Unfortunately, as with most big projects, Driving Test Secrets, which I've been working on since February, I hate to say that because initially it'll just take me a weekend to get that done. Well, it didn't take a weekend. So it's all done. It's at the graphic designers, and this is one of those goofy things that we do when we're in business. We think, I can save a bit of money and I can learn how to do InDesign. I mean, I know how to use Final Cut Pro. I know how to use Word, and all kinds of other software. InDesign can't be that hard to learn, said the stupid person, which is the stupid smart person, which is me. I spent 2 days, and after 2 days, when I went to put captions in the book under the images, and the captions wouldn't show up on the EPUB because I want it to be a flowable EPUB book, I went, what am I doing? I am going to send this to a professional and pay them to do it and make it look nice, and then I can just say, hey, change this, fix this, make that work, whatnot. So yes, zone of incompetence was definitely where I was at, and wasted a couple of days doing that. So there we go. So Tim, Driving Test Secrets, it's with the graphic designer, and probably in the middle of August now that it's going to be done. But it's there, it's available, we're working on it, and of course all of this other stuff we're working on as well. Wyatt, I'm glad you can speak Imperial because I'm not that great at speaking metric. I took Spanish instead, so I'm a little behind. Wyatt, you're better off. Yes, I can do both. And I had to learn Imperial at a very deep level when I took my dissertation, when I did my dissertation, because everything that I was doing was in Imperial, and I actually had to learn the currency at the turn of the century in pounds and pence and pennies and sterling, and I had to learn measurements in surveyors, chains, miles per hour, all that stuff. So yeah, my friend Joe is here. Hello, Joe. Gagne, yes, Jasmine, the city speed limit is 30 miles an hour here, and sometimes I end up going about 35 and still get passed. I tend to go 28 to 30 most of the time. And yes, even if you're keeping up with traffic flow, as you just said, Gagne, you're still going to get passed. People are still going to pass you. I mean, it's, the 97 highway, which runs between Vernon and Kelowna here in British Columbia, it's 90 kilometers an hour is the posted speed limit, but everybody does 110 kilometers an hour, which is about 70 miles an hour. So the posted speed limit is 55 miles an hour. Everybody runs along there at 65, 68 miles an hour, and you're doing 68 miles an hour, you're still going to get passed. And this is part of social driving. So this is what we're talking about tonight. Tim, I am interested in the secrets of driving. Any examples? Tim, yes, the secrets of driving. One of the secrets of driving. Here you go. Here's a teaser for the book. When you make a left-hand turn on a multi-lane road, you have to get the vehicle straight when you get around the corner, and then you immediately have to move back to the right-hand lane. The examiner will not tell you to do this on your driver's test. The reason that you have to move back to the right-hand lane after you make a left-hand turn is due to the fact that you're driving the posted speed limit. Driving the posted speed limit, as we were just talking about with traffic flow, you're going to be the slowest vehicle on the road. Slow traffic, move right. It's a regulatory sign in every state, every province in the United States and in Canada, respectively. So, because you're the slowest vehicle on the road, you have to move back to the right without being told by an examiner. That is one of the secrets of a driver's test, and you only find that out if you go and take lessons with a driving instructor. So, there we go. Goop, do I get honked at when I'm driving at 60, 65? Yes, that's going to happen. And let's get over to the PowerPoint presentation. Let's get through that, and then we can come back and we can answer more questions about driving, all the other tidbits of social driving, and I'll answer any questions about passing a driver's test. Presentation is about 10-12 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll answer all the questions you have. All right, so getting over here, social driving, that's what we're talking about tonight. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauling freight between Canada and the United States, mostly east of the Mississippi, but I did get out to Arizona, Utah, California, Washington State, and whatnot. I was talking about a story the other night about truck driving, and I completely forgot about this story about people getting upset with you and people doing things in retaliation. I took this load. It was a hot load. It needed to get there on time. The appointment was at 10:30 at night. I was coming from Michigan State back into Ontario. Told the dispatch, hey, listen, I'll take it, I'll run. Ran hard. I was 15 minutes late for the appointment. The shipper left me sitting in the dock. Actually, didn't even let me in the dock. Left me sitting out there, said, hey, we'll come and get you in an hour. Left me there all night and came in the morning, and the boss, obviously the night guy went home. The boss came in the next morning, and he said he's looking for his freight. He's trying to figure out where his freight is that was supposed to be there at 10:30 the previous night. Well, it turned out it was a union shop. The guy was upset, left me sitting in the parking lot all night. And this was just one of the things that happen in trucking, where people retaliate and they take their anger out on you, even though it's not really your fault. So, truck driving in the 1990s, drove for Greyhound while I was going to university in Australia. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. Graduated from the University of Melbourne in 2006 with my doctorate in legal history, which, as some of you know, is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. And in my dissertation, I looked at the transition between horse-drawn traffic and motor traffic. And essentially what happened in the 40 years between 1890 and 1930, road speeds increased 500%. That's kind of like saying today that in 40 years from now, so it's 2020, we'll say, 2060, in 2060, we'll all be driving around cities at 150 miles an hour. So relatively speaking, this is what happened between 1890 and 1930. Road speeds increased 500%. And then I looked at how policing changed and how the law changed to try and regulate that increase in speed on city streets and in metropolitan cities. Started the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel in 2015, and it has been wildly more successful than I could have imagined. And we can tell by all the people here right now, 40 people on the live stream. I mean, I know I'm not a huge channel where I get hundreds and hundreds of people on a live stream because I'm not, playing Minecraft. I'm talking about traffic safety. Traffic safety is not sexy, but there's still 45 people here, which is incredible. So we're doing really well on the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel and social media. New this week, cultures of driving. Is it different to drive somewhere else? If you live in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, for example, and we had a comment about that earlier. Sorry, I forget who it was who asked me that about driving in different states and whatnot. But, if you live in Dallas, Texas, is it different going to Raleigh, North Carolina and driving there? And the answer is no, it's really not. Same thing, I did whole videos on Spain. Corey will put up the playlist for the driving videos on Spain. I drove in Spain. Yes, the traffic signs are a little bit different. And, of course, directional signs are in Spanish. But it's not that different. Driving is driving. And if you have the basis of driving, you can drive anywhere in the world. Even on the left side of the road, it's not that different. I drove in Australia for 5 years, and I drove there professionally. I got lost going from the hotel back to the airport to return the rental car, and that was the video this week there in Spain. So, definition of social driving. Social driving is the one thing that unites us as a human race, regardless of religion, politics, or race. And most people who drive will say, I'm a good driver. Most people would not say, oh, I'm kind of a mediocre driver. You know, you might get a few people that would say that, or people like me who say, yes, I kind of consider myself kind of an average driver. I do teach driving all the time, but I'm not duped by the fact that driving is dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous activities that we do on a daily basis. But most people who engage in social driving would say, I'm a good driver. I can tell you some stories about, one of them is my good friend who believes he's a good driver, and I've driven with him. And I'll just leave it there. Hallmarks of social driving. Stopping too close to traffic when you're stopped at traffic lights or at intersections. Following too close. This is the number one hallmark of social driving. People follow too close. And we had road rage incidents. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago with left turn dangers. Do you move into the intersection, or do you stay at the edge of the intersection and wait for your gap and then move into the intersection? We had people who literally threatened other people that they needed to move into the intersection and move up because of congestion and moving as many vehicles through the intersection as possible. Failing to yield, passing in the right lane, not stopping at stop signed intersections. Very few people stop at stop signed intersections. They just slow down, roll through, check, and go. Particularly at four-way intersections. Not signaling, not looking before reversing, drifting over when turning on multi-lane roads, and the list goes on, and we could come up with 100 more characteristics and hallmarks of social driving. And the first thing, the most prominent hallmark of social driving is failing to control space effectively. And as I said, most drivers fail too close. And this is actually my good friend, him driving his pickup truck here, and I was taking a video when we were driving. So most people have failed to control space in front of their vehicle. And if you want to do one thing to be a proactive driver, increase your following distance in front. Traffic in most places now is too congested to control space all around your vehicle, but you can always control that space in front. And drivers will say, but if I leave space in front, drivers will move in. Yes, they will. But because they're going faster than you, they're only going to be there for a couple of minutes, and then they're going to be gone. And then you can reclaim your 3 to 4 seconds of following distance. If you're using the brake for anything other than turning, slowing down to turn, coming to a stop, controlling your speed on a downhill, or unexpected events, you're following too close. And that's an ideal. Obviously, yes, it's an ideal, but if you're using the brake for anything other than that, you're following too close. Stopping in line, stopping behind other traffic. You should be approximately 1 vehicle length from the vehicle in front of you, not up tight to their bumper, because there's all kinds of defensive driving reasons. First and foremost, if the vehicle behind you or the vehicle in front of you is the person's driving a manual transmission and they roll back, they're going to roll into you. Second, you're sitting there, you've got a space in front of you, you're looking in your rear view mirror, somebody comes up onto you, and they're inevitable that they're going to rear end you. You could move up a little bit and flash your brake lights, and oftentimes that's enough to get the person behind you stopped. If the vehicle in front of you breaks down or you change your mind, you don't have to reverse in traffic, which is extremely dangerous. You could just pull out and around the vehicle in front of you. And then finally, bilateral control, and I'd like to thank Joe for this, sending me this information. If we all stayed back 1 vehicle length when we're stopped in a queue at a light, we could all move off together and we would reduce traffic congestion. It's because we're too close to the vehicle in front of us that the vehicle in front has to go. And then we go. And then the car behind us goes. And then that car goes. And that car goes. Whereas if we all maintained in an ideal utopic world 1 vehicle length from the vehicle in front of us, the entire pack of cars could move off at the same time instead of each car individually moving off. So there's good reason to stop back so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the pavement. As in this image right here, you can see clearly the tires of the van making clear contact with the pavement. Communication. Drivers fail to communicate, and I talk about this all the time. And this, if you want an example of this, just get in a tractor trailer with an upgrading driver. I mean, they already know how to drive, but you say to them, listen, move over to the left-hand lane on a multi-lane road, change lanes, and they're like, oh, nobody's gonna let me in. Nobody's letting me in. I can't move over. Nobody's letting me in. The first thing I always say to them is, did you turn your signal on? Signals move traffic, but for most people, it's just a courtesy that they put one flash on there. Hey, I'm moving over. Traffic signals are to tell others that you wish to move over, not that you are, in fact, moving over as the way that most people do it. Okay? Unpredictable actions are erratic and without warning, and this is one of the leading causes of traffic crashes. Unpredictable actions on the part of drivers, road users. You're expecting a pedestrian to stay on the curb, on the sidewalk, and they step out in front of you. That's an unpredictable action, and you hit them. As well, we do not consciously take note of speed differentials between our vehicle and other road users on the roadway. Our vehicle and a pedestrian is probably the most severe or the biggest relative speed difference between road user groups. Pedestrians are traveling at about 6 miles an hour. In the city, we're traveling at 30 miles an hour. There's a speed differential there of 24 to 25 miles an hour. That's a big speed differential. And you have to gauge speed so that you can control distance, and you have control space so that you have time, because time gives you options. Time allows you to make decisions and to work the controls of the vehicle and to avoid crashes as a proactive driver. Emotional drivers, social driving. This is another one. This is right up there with mismanagement of space as a social driver. They're emotional. Because they're not managing space, they react to the vehicles in front of them. They hope on a wing and a prayer that they can get their vehicle stopped if the vehicle in front of them slams on the brakes, because they're too close to the vehicle in front of them. And then, because the person slammed on the brakes for no apparent reason, then they get retaliatory. They retaliate against the person in front of them because they're, in their mind, they're a bonehead, did something stupid, and now they're going to tailgate them, they're going to crowd them, they're going to honk their horn, they're going to flip them off, tell them they're number one. All of this road rage, reactionary and retaliatory. And if you understand social driving and you can control space, because if you can control space, now you have time. Time gives you options. Options prevent crashes. And if you can do that, you move from being reactionary and retaliatory to being proactive and being predictable on the roadways. And finally, if you are being emotional and you are being reactionary and retaliatory, you are following too close, you are failing to give way, and you have the attitude that I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to go. And they will not give up the right of way. And that is the reason for traffic crashes. All kinds of traffic authorities will say, oh, it's because of speeding. Speeding is not a reason for traffic crashes. Yes, speeding increases the severity of a crash the higher the speeds, but it's not the reason for crashes. The reason for crashes is social driving, the mismanagement of speed and space, following too close and failing to give it up when you need to give it up. Because sometimes it's just a matter of taking your foot off the throttle, letting the other person go. When you're merging, for example, there's a big truck right beside you. Well, the big truck can't slow down or whatnot. You just take your foot off the throttle, merge in behind the big truck, and if you watch that video on Spain, that's exactly what I did. There was a big truck beside me. I let off the throttle, let the big truck go in front of me, and I just merged in behind the big truck. But I had situational awareness because I knew there weren't any cars behind the big truck so that I could merge into that space. So good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. We'll get back over here. And Corey's put up those videos. Thank you so much for doing that, Corey. Wyatt, strange opinion, but I love Greyhound. If I had my license, I'd still want to use it time to time to experience. And Wyatt, I don't disagree with you. I like using Greyhound and riding the bus as well. I'm just very sad that here in Western Canada we don't have Greyhound any longer. When I was younger, I took Greyhound all the way from London, Ontario, Canada, all the way to Winnipeg. It was 38 hours on the Greyhound. And I'll tell you, it's a lot more fun when you go with somebody else as opposed to just by yourself. Because when you go with somebody else, the two of you can switch off laying on each other and putting your head on their shoulder and those types of things. When you're by yourself, you kind of got to stay up. So there you go. My friend Goose is here, Nickel City Driving Lessons. Using your signal is like using your mouth. Hey, can you let me in? And that's exactly right, Goose, as I say to people. Signals are to tell people that you wish to move over, not that you are moving over. And the other piece about signaling and effective communication, 3 flashes on the signal minimum before you move the vehicle. The first flash gets the other road user's attention. The second flash allows them to locate you. So, for example, if they're not paying attention, hey, something's going on there. Oh, there's a signal. Oh, okay, there they are. And then the third one allows them to take some sort of action that will help you out. For example, if they're like right on your bumper, they're like, hey, let off the throttle a little bit, and they're going to move over and just, let them in. Signals move traffic. And people say, oh, they're so arrogant, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, how effective do you signal? Because I find signals work quite well when you use them, right? I know that there are some people out there who are trying to increase the resale value of their vehicle by not using the signals, and not having to fill up the blinker fluid. But, the few bucks that you're going to get extra when you sell your vehicle, is it really worth risking your safety and the safety of your family and the safety of other road users not to use your signals? Use your signals, okay? Goose used to take Greyhound every summer when I was 14 to visit my dad in Sudbury from Ottawa. Best time ever. Awesome. And like I said, I drove Greyhound for in Australia, and I had a lot of adventures driving Greyhound. A lot of adventures. One of the things I had trouble with Greyhound when I was driving buses for Greyhound was drunk people getting on the bus, usually men. Actually, it was all men. I don't ever remember a woman getting on the bus and being drunk. And, the one time they got in and they went in the bathroom, they threw up on everything in the bathroom. I had to go into a fuel station. I had to clean it up. And, it's kind of like, they did not hit the toilet at all. It was all over the walls and everywhere else. Yes, it was very disgusting. And it's not only it's disgusting, it's also 3 o'clock in the morning. So you're in there with the mop and the pail because, you've got cleaning supplies under the bus. So I'm in there. And so this happened 3 times. And I was asked my manager a few times, I'm like, what do I do with these drunk people? I said, come on, I can't have these people on my bus because they just interrupt the safety of the other passengers. It interrupts the ride. I'm always late. And my man, you can't refuse service. I was like, oh my God, that's just the worst. So I was complaining about this after one of these incidents with one of the other veteran drivers, Kerry. I loved Kerry. He was an old veteran driver. He was in his late 50s, had been driving bus forever. He drove some of the tour buses in the outback with buses, and he said, I was always surprised when we ended up with a tour bus and we ended up in places where only 4-wheel drives could get in. We're in there with a bus and a trailer, which was great fun and great stories, he told me. But Kerry said to me, if somebody comes in and they're drunk, he says, you just take their ticket, look at their ticket and go, hey, oh, sorry, mate, this isn't your bus. Your bus will be along here in about 15 minutes. And so one night, showed up in Shepparton, which is in New South Wales, just north of Victoria. And this guy comes up to the bus. He was blotto drunk. He's like, oh, hey, mate, how's it going? Ah. I'm like, oh, you get your ticket? Looked at his ticket, and I'm like, oh, sorry, mate, this isn't your bus. Your bus will be along in about 20 minutes. Oh, thanks, mate. You have a good night. I love you. You're so great. Goes and sits on the bench. I got back on the bus and drove away. And best advice I ever got about driving coaches, because, man, I don't like cleaning up vomit. It's not fun. So lots of adventures, lots of stories about driving Greyhound buses. Goose, so long as it's nobody gets beheaded, it's all good. Yes, that's very true. Jack, how are you, my friend? Ari, thank you so much. Yes, remember to click like if you could. That really helps out the channel. Jasmine, I practiced figure eights this weekend. I attempted to do them while reversing. Wasn't that great at it. And Jasmine, no, going forward is pretty good when you're doing figure eights. But doing them in reverse is indeed challenging. But if you can, do it a couple of more times and practice reverse figure eights, it will improve your overall driving. I promise you that. I guarantee that reverse figure eights will improve your overall driving. It'll make you you will park better. Your parallel parking will be easy. Backing into a parking spot will be super easy. Reverse figure eights, I love them. I think they're a tremendous exercise for new drivers. So yes, definitely do those. Gupta, Greyhound has washrooms, or do they stop every time someone wants to use? No, Gupta. Coaches, okay, highway coaches have toilets. Okay, transit buses and other buses don't have toilets. Highway coaches do in fact have toilets. And so, when you drive a highway coach, you're called a coach captain. You're not called a bus driver. So the difference between a bus driver and a coach captain is, a coach captain is somebody who sits on a bus all day and takes crap. That was terrible. That's a bad joke. Jack, good news. I got my test on November 9th of this year in New Jersey. Your videos have helped me. We have talked something on chat or video call. My friend Bill from Safeway in Wildwood, New Jersey said hi. That's awesome. Thank you, Jack, for dropping by and letting us know. Tyler, my friend, going up hills in my car is a pain, as not a lot of power and upsets people. Have to be 5,500 to get power. And Tyler, that's not unusual. It's the same thing with the buggy. It's got to be running 4,500, 5,000 RPM to get it going. So know that, when you got a 125 horsepower naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, you need a lot of revs for sure. Epic, my friend, a calming social driving maneuver running over painted islands. I used it to my father. If I had to drive with him, fully licensed drivers do that move. In rare cases, novice New Jersey probationary drivers. Yes, you're absolutely right, Epic. They drive over painted islands all the time. That is a fundamental hallmark of social driving, for sure. Always, always drive over painted islands. And there's a reason the painted island is there. It's a buffer of space between you and oncoming traffic when you're changing directions. Because as we know, not all drivers have the same skill level. And because they don't all have the same skill level, sometimes they misjudge the space or they turn the steering wheel too far. And that painted island provides that minimum safe distance between your vehicles and the vehicles in the oncoming lane. Because as we know, head-on crashes are often fatal. They're less fatal because of safety technology in vehicles and whatnot, but they're still very dangerous and very damaging. Raj Pikar, I passed my road test on Thursday and got my license. That is absolutely awesome. Congratulations on passing your test. Awesome, my friend. What did you do to go and celebrate passing your license? Really awesome. Thanks for dropping by and letting us know. Goose, Rick, can you cover how to use double left turning lanes in a future episode? Yes, I can do that for sure. And as well, Goose, there's a video, Corey will put it up for you, on turning on multi-lane roads. That's probably the video that you're looking for, my friend. But basically, if you're turning left and there's two lanes, because usually there's just two left turning lanes, there's not just one. And for you teaching new drivers and for anybody who's driving and wants to be safer, it's safer if you sit in the outside lane, because then you're going to turn right lane to right lane. When you get around the corner, you're not going to have to change lanes. I mean, unless you're in a hurry and you want to go faster, then absolutely get in the left lane on the inside lane. You can tear up the road. But for the most part, you want to be in the left lanes. The other safety proactive approach you can take to multi-turning lanes is you don't want to turn beside another vehicle. You don't want to track another vehicle. And this goes for multi-lane roads in any case. Okay, but more so when you're turning, because people tend to drift from one lane to the other, not on purpose, but oftentimes, spring, the road markings are not clear and people will drift into the other lane. So you don't want to be beside them. You want to either be in front of them or you want to be beside them. So you want to stagger the traffic in the other lane when you're turning left on multi-lane roads. So that'll probably help you a little bit as well. Corey's just put up the video on multiple turning lanes there. Thanks for that, Corey, and that'll help you out as well, Gusa. Gupta, excuse me. At yield, sometimes cars waiting at the red light block my view of traffic. Is it okay to go past crosswalk in that case while yielding? Okay, so I know what you're talking about, Gupta. You're sitting waiting to turn left, and there's a vehicle across the intersection in the left turning lane, and they are blocking you from seeing. So basically, it's an S maneuver, or I call it the jig jog, where you move into the intersection, move slightly left, not over the center line, but slightly left, and then bring your steer tires back to straight so that you can see around that vehicle on the other side of the intersection. Corey will put up the video for you on left turns, and I do a jig jog in the left turning video on that topic, and that will help you out as well to do that so that you can see around the traffic on the other side of the intersection. And in bigger cities, metropolitan cities, when you can't see around the bigger vehicle on the other side of the intersection, that's what you have to do. You have to do that little jig jog, or you have to do that little S maneuver so that you can see around the traffic on the other side of the intersection. Russ, passed my road test last week in New York City. Will continue to watch your videos so that I can keep learning, and that is awesome. Congratulations, Ren, on passing your driver's test there in New York City. Awesome, my friend. Simply awesome that you came back and let us know that you passed there in the Big Apple. And what did you do to go and celebrate? That's just really, really awesome. Raja Bakar, I went out to eat after getting my license. That's just awesome. There's nothing better than just, you can drive the car by yourself and you go out and you go to the drive-thru, or you wait and go into the restaurant. It's just really awesome. So awesome. Yeah, it's that people getting their first license never gets old. It's just such a fantastic feeling. It's just, and I'm very privileged to be able to share in that every day and help people to get their license, because you only do it once. It's one of those things in life that you do it once. I mean, I've passed a dozen driver's tests now because, getting my bus license, getting a tractor trailer license, getting my driving instructor's license. But getting your first license it's just an incredible life experience, and it's, like I said, it only happens once. My friend Joe, reading through your hallmarks of social driving list, most of these behaviors are downright antisocial. Yes, they are, Joe. But, unfortunately, politics, religion, life, all those types of things, a lot of things we do are not, might be considered antisocial in terms of what we do in terms of life. So, yeah, they could be required antisocial. But, the interesting thing is, Joe, on that note, when we teach new drivers how to drive, and, I was victim of this thinking as well when I first became a driving instructor, was like, well, this is not the way that we drive after we get our license. When it's, in fact, Scope 3, which is the new defensive driving model that I've come up with, which is creating proactive drivers who create a driving situation in which they are safe, takes into account all of this social driving, and then uses the same skill set that you learned when you got your driver's license to keep yourself safe. Space management, speed management, observation, communication. Those are the four tools. Those are the four tools that we teach new drivers when they go for their driver's test. Unfortunately, after that, we know that within 90 days, they're all participating. All these new drivers, newly licensed drivers, are participating in social driver. They're doing all of those antisocial behaviors in driving, following too close, stopping too close in traffic, not signaling, driving over painted islands, rolling through stop signs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was thinking about this today in terms of communication. So we stand in a queue, or we stand in a line at the grocery store, for example, where we are comfortable when we're front to back to another person being, what, 12, 14 inches? What, 30 centimeters from the person in front of us? Now, if that person in front of us, when we're standing in a line, who's a complete stranger, if that person turned around and faced us, we'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? You are way too close. You are in my bubble. So we don't do that, right? But when it's front to back, that's okay. But if we're face to face, that's not okay. And this is one of the theories in traffic is that we're nose to tail. And that's okay to be too close. But if the person turned around as if you were standing in a line, now you're in my personal bubble. So if we all drove facing each other, would that space increase? Here's a hypothetical, theoretical question that we can all think about, right? Would that space increase? Is it simply the makeup of the way that cars are situated on the roadway, nose to tail, that we drive too close? The same way that we feel very comfortable standing in a line at the supermarket and being 12 inches behind the person in front of us, or even less. But if that person turned around, then we'd be like, whoa, you're in my bubble. So I'm thinking that this mismanagement of space is where some of this comes from. So it'd be great to get your feedback and hear what you think about that. Pedal traffic, being angry at cyclists because you slow down for 30 seconds less than a stoplight for 30 seconds. Yeah. Pedal traffic, I cycle as well, and here's my pet peeve. So when I go to jiu-jitsu, I ride my bicycle. I'm an avid cyclist. I've done some tours, not as much as most people, but I do ride my bicycle a lot, and I've did a self-supporting tour around Scotland and Tasmania. I've ridden my bicycle a lot over my life. I love riding my bicycle. I come out of the intersection, and right at the intersection on the other side is a crosswalk. And I come out to the intersection, I'm waiting for traffic to clear because it's a stop sign. I'm supposedly a vehicle on the roadway. And then some person comes along and stops for me to go because I think the crosswalk is there. And it just annoys me to no end because this person has stopped. This person on the other side doesn't see me. Even though I'm wearing bright clothing, because I will never wear, I try and be safe. I wear a yellow jacket when I'm riding my bicycle. I wear a helmet, gloves, the whole thing. But when one person stops, now we're being unpredictable because this person has stopped and maybe this person hasn't seen me. And exactly what you said, pedal traffic. People pass dangerously close. I told a story a few weeks ago when I was in Australia and the guy went between me and a tram and I was able to basically go like this and hit the side of the guy's car. That's how close he was to me in his vehicle. And then of course there was a road rage incident. He stopped. He's threatening me. So I hear you for sure. 3 feet minimum between you and the cyclist. Minimum 3 feet. If you can move over to the other lane safely, then do that, please. And as well, know for those of us who ride bicycles, if we're going past parked cars, we're going to be 3 feet or more from the cars because cyclists are going to be beyond door range. Because if somebody opens that door, we don't want to get hit. So that's where we're going to be riding. All right, I kind of got a little off there. Mallory, if you are on a double left turn and you turn left and then you have to merge into a single lane, can you please explain that, please? Thank you. So Mallory, that's a great question. And if that does happen where you have two turning lanes, which I couldn't, it'd be interesting, Mallory, if you do have an intersection where that is happening, where it's not construction, but that's kind of a normal thing, because I can't envision an intersection where you would have two left turning multiple lanes and then the two lanes on the other side of the intersection on the cross street go to a single lane. That seems kind of goofy that you would do that, because you'd be funneling a lot of volume of traffic into a single lane of traffic. So if you have an intersection you could send me maybe by email, that would be really great, and I could have a look at that. However, if that is the situation, then it's better for you to be in the left lane when you get into the multi-turning lanes, because then the left lane, usually the right lane's going to end when it merges into one. So the right lane has to merge over into the left lane to get into that single lane of traffic. Now, this is going to be dependent on different situations and different traffic setups, the configuration of the roadway, the configuration of the signs and whatnot. But that's kind of my general answer overall. Traffic. Being courteous brings confusion to an already complex intersection. Traffic, you have no idea. It's just like, just treat me like a vehicle, just go, because now the other piece about that, it's exactly what you said. It brings confusion and it delays the traffic, because had they just gone and then the gap presented itself, I would have been ready and just gone. But when somebody does something unpredictable like that, as me on the cyclist, I'm not expecting it. Now they stop. Now I got to go. And I wasn't ready to go. So now it's another, like, it doesn't sound like very much, but it's a second and a half when it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to go, right? Because this person who's frustrated me has stopped and I have to go. So it would actually be faster if they just went and let me wait for the gap and go when I determined that it was safe. Because then, the other thing is we have to be super cautious, because we have to figure out that the traffic on the other side of the intersection is also coming to a stop, not just the person who's trying to be courteous. Because I know in their heart of hearts that they are trying to be courteous. They are trying to help you out as a cyclist, but they're not. They have the best intentions, but they're being unpredictable. Xander, how do I get better foot placement on the gas pedal? Okay, excellent question, Xander. Curl your toes like this, as if you're trying to pick a pencil up off the carpet with your toes. Put your heel firmly on the floor of the footwell, and then just squeeze with your toes. And that'll help you when you get started to have better control of the fuel pedal. Now, as well, try and get your toes closer to the bottom, slightly lower than center of the fuel pedal. And then as well, in addition to that, do the slow speed maneuvers in the parking lot. That'll help you to coordinate the steering wheel with the throttle, with the gas pedal and the accelerator and those types of things. Okay, throttle, gas pedal, and accelerator all one and the same thing. It's sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you. The gas pedal, if you can work in a parking lot doing the slow speed maneuvers, that's going to help you to get control of the accelerator, the gas pedal. So do that. All right, my friend Tim is here. Hello, Tim from Drive Smart BC. And if any of you are in the province of British Columbia and want to know more about traffic safety, road building, traffic cases, courts, policing, all of that information, check out Drive Smart BC. Check out Tim. Tim's website, excellent resource over there, and as well you can participate in the forum there and talk to experts and share ideas and information at Drive Smart BC. So my friend Tim. Joe, an interesting bubble psychology. A lot of antisocial driving comes across as don't care about the effects of my behavior on others. Most people wouldn't do this as much as if they were face to face. And yes, you are absolutely right, Joe. And I was thinking about that today because I'm actually going down in early August to present this new defensive driving model, or this proactive defensive driving model, to a client of mine. And I was thinking about some of the exercises that I could get them to do, because we're actually doing it in a live classroom with real people. And I'm very excited because I haven't been in front of a classroom for a very long time. So that's going to be super exciting. I'm super, super chuffed. There's a good word for you. Chuffed. Is that an Australian expression? Yeah, it might even be a British expression. Chuffed. Super chuffed to go down and do that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting in front of real people in a real classroom and presenting some information. It'll be just great fun. Sierra, why do you think young people are less inclined to get their driver's license these days? Sierra, I was having that very conversation with a friend of mine just yesterday. Just pardon one sec here. Sierra, the reason people are less inclined to get their driver's license now is because of urban migration, for one thing. 75% of the world's population now lives in cities. Most big cities have decent public transit, or most people have cars in industrialized countries in the world, and they get rides from other people. Now, myself, probably Tim and Joe and Goose, all of these other people probably grew up during my era in the 1970s, 1980s. We worked on a farm. We drove tractors, lawn tractors, rode our bicycles, those types of things. We didn't really have we had so much exposure to driving that when we just wanted to learn how to drive. We just wanted to get our driver's license. We wanted to have that power. We wanted to be empowered with a driver's license. Now, young people, so first of all, they don't have a great deal of experience when they come to driving. It's not unusual for driving instructors to get with a student who has zero driving experience when they get in the car, other than the little bit of experience of driving in the few weeks before going for their driver's test. The other piece with it is the GLP, the Graduated Driver's Licensing Program. Authorities can say whatever they want. It has not reduced crashes, injuries, and fatalities amongst young people. What it has done is it has delayed when young people are getting their driver's license, because now it's more expensive to get your license, the cost of insurance, the cost of a car. Most of these young people are working minimum wage jobs. The cost of a car is exorbitant. I mean, I know they don't have any expenses. Most of them are living at home and those types of things. But I mean, it's pretty tough to afford a $5,000 car when you're making $18 an hour. You got to save a lot of money. Plus the cost of insurance. For most young people, the cost of insurance is, $2,000 or $4,000 a year. Which is what, $200-$300 a month. That's an incredible amount of money. So I think that the reason, the red tape of the GLP program, the simple cost of it, and the fact that most people live in cities and they have access to exceptional public transit, or they have friends who have cars, and they're just not inclined to get a driver's license in the way that they were when I was a kid, when it was like, I was like the days leading up, the months leading up to my 16th birthday, I was marking it off the calendar. I'm like, this is the day I can go and get my driver's license. And, as well, the learners thing. I mean, I didn't have the GLP program, and many other people who were older didn't have the GLP program as well. So, one week you could go and get your learners, and the next week you could go and take your on-road test, and you'd have your license within a few weeks. And it's still the same. It hasn't changed. Even though you're required to hold a learners for 180 days to a full year, most young drivers who go for an on-road test don't start practicing until 6 to 8 weeks before their driver's test. We know that. We know that as driving instructors, and maybe Goose can weigh in on this, and Tim as well, and Sam, if Sam comes along. Most drivers don't start until 6 to 8 weeks before their driver's test to actually start practicing. So it's not any different than when I was young. It's still exactly the same. There are other social factors that are weighing in on this, but I would argue that those are the factors, and those are the reasons that young people are postponing getting their license until they're 17, 18, 19, 20. So, Gupta says Tim hasn't gone for dinner yet. That's funny. Canadian fella, I passed my G2 with your help and information, and that is awesome. Congratulations, my friend. What did you do to go and celebrate passing your driver's license? Thank you so much for stopping back and letting us know that you passed. Xander, hey Rick, do you get better placement on the gas pedal? Okay, so Xander, you might have missed this. Crunch your toes up like this, as if you're picking a pencil up off the carpet. Okay, squeeze your toes, put your heel firmly on the floor of the footwell, just under the center of the fuel pedal, and then practice doing that as well. Do slow speed maneuvers, okay? That will help you out with controlling the gas pedal when you're driving. Tim sat down to use a few minutes while I waited for my wife to come up for dinner. She's here, so I have to go. Sorry to drop in and then disappear. Not a problem at all, my friend. And yeah, great talking to you, Tim. All the best, my friend. Angel, there is nothing better than being able to drive yourself to places anytime, day or night. Angel, I completely and utterly agree. I can remember when I got my license, and I mean, it was decades ago I got my license, but it was absolutely brilliant. And I worked for a farmer that summer. He had an International Scout. My daughter's name is Scout. We're going to get her a Scout car. And I drove the wheels off that thing. I spent my entire paycheck, because I was making minimum wage at the time, which at the time, here's history for you, $3 an hour. Made $120 a week. I spent the entire $120 on putting fuel in that truck so I could drive it around. That's all I wanted to do was drive. It was so exciting. Goose, I drove my aunt's car when I was 14 down a farm road to go and get her some smokes. I couldn't wait for my 365s on my 16th birthday. That's awesome. Drove the car when I was 14 to go and get smokes. And I mean, that was the thing. I mean, I started working on a farm when I was 14. I mean, we were driving tractors and hay wagons. And of course, we were driving the old trucks around the farm and those types of things. So, you know, not like it is today for sure. Tim says, I had some driving on private property experience before I got my license. And, you know, many people did because we lived on farms and those types of things. And we owned a 30-acre property. We had old cars there, and that's how I learned to drive a manual transmission, you know, an old 3 on the tree. We don't have any of those anymore. I want to get one that has a 3 in the tree and then just give the keys to people and see what they can do if they can figure it out. Because, you know, great fun just messing with people. Canadian fellow, I celebrated by driving the car wash and washing my car. How does it feel to be able to help so many people from all over Canada and the States? Canadian fellow, it is just an incredible privilege to be able to help people to get their driver's license, help people to be safer, smarter drivers, and, you know, to be able to do what I do. And it's the same thing that I tell my kids. Spider-Man. I mean, we watch all the Marvel movies. We think it's great. And, you know, both my kids are incredibly bright, smart, you know, talented. And I say to them, I said, you know, Spider-Man is not just a comic book. There are life lessons in it. There are values. There's morals. With great power comes great responsibility. And whatever your superpower is, you have a responsibility to share that with the world. My superpower is teaching people how to drive. My superpower is figuring out, you know, what factors motivate drivers to do what they do and to help you to be safer, smarter drivers so that you're not involved in a car crash. And to get your license, of course, because it's just fantastic having a driver's license. So being able to share my superpower with you over the internet with this fantastic thing called YouTube, it's magic. And magic happens. This is magic. I can sit in my house on my computer and I can talk to thousands of people over the internet. It's magic. That's all I can say about it. It's magic. And I'm glad that I'm able to use my superpower to help all of you get your driver's license and be safer, smarter drivers and start careers as professional drivers, trucks and bus drivers. So, fantastic. Goose, $3 an hour. Me too, bud. I was like 13 on a golf course. Goose, I picked rocks. I hated picking rocks. It was the worst job I ever had for $3 an hour. Just like up and down the field. You know, and somebody's driving the tractor and you're picking the rocks up and you're throwing them in the trailer. It was the worst. Joe, amazingly helpful information this evening. Loads of driving how-tos plus behavioral psychology too. What's not to love? Have a fab week. Rick, Tim, Corey, and everyone. Thank you so much, Joe. And it's just awesome that you're part of the Smart Driver community. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Evan, in Washington State, if you get a license at age 18 at the youngest by just taking the tests, you can get an unrestricted driver's license without getting an intermediate license. And yes, this is one of the pieces, and thank you for that information, Evan. And that's not just Washington State. That's many of the states in the U.S. that you bypass the probationary portion of your license. So the GLP, the GDL, the Graduated Driver's License Program, has a learner's phase, the probationary phase, and then a full license. And so the learners in the probationary phase, in many states in the U.S., if you are 18 years or older, you bypass that probationary phase. Or the other way that it works in the states with the GDL is that it's simply a period of time that you don't have any driving infractions, you don't have any traffic crashes, and then you simply just phase into a full license. You're not required to take another test, as in most Canadian provinces where we are a little over the top, where you have to have 2 on-road driver's license tests to get a full license. And we have people, actually I know somebody at the tire shop, Travis, he's like 32 years old. He's had his N license for not decades, for like 12 years. He just doesn't go and get his full license because it's too much of a pain in the butt. So unfortunately, that's what happens here. Gupta, when starting from a red light stop, my car makes zoom sound. Does that mean I am accelerating too much? No, Gupta. You know, most cars, I don't know what kind of car you have, but most cars are going to accelerate and they're going to make a bit of noise, the engine noise. And it's great. It's great fun. You know, throttle up. Let's go. Mallory says her superpower is to sing and loves singing, and that is absolutely awesome, and I'm sure that a lot of other people like you singing as well. My mom, on the other hand, her superpower is not singing. She likes to remind everyone that she was actually kicked out of the choir because her singing was not that good. My mom's superpower is raising kids, and she's raised at least 3 or 4 generations of kids. So that's my mom's superpower. And we all have our superpower, and it's exactly what Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker: with great power comes great responsibility, and you have a responsibility to share your superpower with the world and to help other people and to be of service. That's our job. And you know, that's one job, to be of service and to be better, right? We're trying to be better people every day. And if we can do that, we're doing an awesome job in the world. So we're going to wrap that up there for tonight. If you have any questions, you're watching on the replay, leave a comment down in the comment section there. All of that helps us out. And just fantastic. Everybody participating in the live stream, everybody giving questions and being part of the Smart Driver community. Thank you so much. You passed the driver's license in the last couple of weeks. Congratulations. And if you have a road test, excuse me, you have a road test coming up this week, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.